Hi, everyone. Thank you for sticking around to learn about collective mining. For those of you that do not know us, we trade on the TSX exchange under the symbol CNL, as previously mentioned. We have a market cap of about 250 million Canadian dollars, and we are active explorers in Colombia. Before I go into the projects and everything we're doing, just some housekeeping. This is a little bit outdated. This was printed or put up here before this week. And this week we announced a strategic investment from an unnamed investor that will infuse the company with an additional 19 million Canadian dollars. We report in US. Current cash, all told, what we had and what we're just coming into the door, will be about 28 million US dollars. We will drill over 40,000 meters in this calendar year in 2024. We're spending just over $1 million a month. So we're well funded, we don't need money, and we can advance. Management plus insiders are aligned in this company. As you can see, that number will come down a little bit after the strategic investor is added into the fold, but we'll still own about 40% of the outstanding shares. So and I'm the largest shareholder of this company. For those that don't know us, we were the same team that founded Continental Gold, which sold in 2020 to Sussman Mining for about $2 billion, also in Colombia. Little primer on Colombia for those that are unaware. Colombia elected its first left-leaning president about 20 months ago, and everyone said, uh-oh, what's going to happen? Well, it's been noisy in the country with respect to general politics. However, for mining, excluding coal, it's been very robust. Since this president took over, there have been 5 permits issued in the country, 2 of them for underground gold mines, 2 of them for open pit nickel, and 1 for open pit rare earth, against no one being denied a permit. One key takeaway for Colombia, which is really important in this day and age, is we talk about the need for metals and the need to transition energy. It takes by law 10 months to permit a mine in Colombia. So the minute your initiation starts on your submission, you have to by law have a final answer within 10 months, and that includes the timeline, within the timeline, having a public hearing. So we compare that to perceived safe jurisdictions like the United States, and it's 15 years now on average to permit in the US. So this looks very attractive indeed. Also keep in mind that Colombia missed the exploration boom of the 80s and 90s due to security concerns. So you have this wonderful South American mountain range geology here, unexplored, but the future in front of it. If you want to go hunt for big deposits, this is one of the few countries in the world where you want to be, and that is why we are there. And obviously we had success because we built and then sold, which is today the largest gold mine in the country at Continental Gold, which the project you can see on that map was named Buritica. Within Colombia, we're in a department named Caldas. Caldas is quite famous for organic coffee. For those in the room that have Nespresso machines, the Colombia puck that you put in comes from Caldas, this department. This is the best place to go for mining in the country for a couple of reasons. Number one, the project contiguous to us is known as Marmato, owned by RS Mining on the TSX, and that's been producing for 500 years continuously. It's the second oldest producing mine in the Americas, and as a result, everyone from this department has mining in their lineage in one way, shape, or form. Secondly, Caldas has the most universities per capita, hence the highest education rate, and the result is a very low unemployment rate at roughly 4%, competitive with Western countries. So because of that, security here, you don't worry about it. There are no known bad actors. Everyone that wants a job has a job in Caldas, and the economy is driven by outdoor industrials and farming. So excellent place to be, very comfortable to do work. So you can see our concession map on the right on this slide. RS Mining is the Marmato mine. That, by the way, is one of the 5 that got permitted. It was a small-scale mine. It's now being constructed to be a 165,000 ounce per annum gold producer, and they expect to start commercial production in late 2025. Obviously, we're benefiting from that. But another key point, infrastructure. We see a lot of projects today with wonderful deposits, but the remoteness of them is quite worrisome. We have the Pan American Highway. You can see it dissecting this page from the north to the south. And more importantly, along that Pan American Highway is high voltage run-of-river power. Like Canada, Colombia generates all of its energy from hydro. And so it's not like the rest of South America. We tend to think of these rolling brownout and blackout situations. You don't have that here. So there's wonderful power, there's skilled labor, and there's roads, and that's a winning formula. Additionally, weather, really important. I mean, we're in an area that's known as eternal spring. The weather averages between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius all year round. You can work every single day of the year with no hiccups. And so that's a really nice advantage to have. I'm zooming in now on the Guayabalas project, which is the flagship project. So on the bottom right, that partial circle, that's RS Mining's mine. You'll note all those mining symbols. There are 10 permitted operating mines situated within 3 kilometers. We're in an established mining camp already. The only large one will be RS once they can fully construct Marmato, but wonderful place to want to permit a mine. The ovals or circles, those are targets we generated. What are we looking at here? So we recognize this area as being a porphyry cluster district. Okay, RS Mining is a porphyry deposit. The upper part of it, which they call Upper Marmato, is late-stage high-grade sheeted veins coming off of a porphyry, and the Marmato Deeps, which they're constructing on, that's a reduced porphyry. Reduced porphyry means an event took place to really suck the base metal out of the system, so it's gold only. Think Snowline. I think everyone here has heard of Snowline Gold. That's another reduced porphyry. We went in 2021. We put this package together in 2020. 2021, we went in and did grassroots exploration. All of those ovals that are situated to the northwest of the 4.5 kilometer line are the targets that we generated. All of it by hard groundwork, by traipsing the topography, doing soil sampling and rock chip sampling. And we went and drilled starting in 2022. Look at the hits we've had. So keep in mind, we all know how bad the odds in mining are of having success. This is an undrilled project, never been worked, and almost anywhere we put a rig, we hit, and we've hit some very significant deposits or systems. Of that list, the flagship, which I'll take you through first, is called Apollo. You can see a highlight hole there where we drilled 519 meters at 2.76 grams per ton gold equivalent. That is a gold, silver, copper, and a little bit of tungsten porphyry system, so pretty amazing. All of these drill holes or all these systems start right at surface. So all this is outcropping. And so we're fortunate in that regard. This year is another year of aggressive drilling. I believe that we're on the cusp of outlining a major gold camp. And, you know, these don't come around very often. So we made a decision not to just focus at Apollo this year and try and get to a mineral resource estimate, but really push the envelope and see how many of these might turn into eventual mines with aggressive drilling, and that's what we're doing. You know, of interest, that strategy seems to be working because we announced a discovery at Olympus Deeps just north of Apollo in January, as well as the trap porphyry system along that trend to the northeast in January. So we have 2 new porphyry discoveries from first grassroots drilling. Looking at it another way, there's a long section of those systems. So we've collapsed it onto the plane. Look at the area in the middle we haven't explored yet. We're currently doing that now. You might ask, why didn't you explore that middle area? Topography's harder. Look at the mountains, so it's more work. We went where it's easier, as is natural for humans to do. So we're doing that. I don't know what will generate there, but we're quite excited and believe we'll generate something interesting. Look at the scale. You're seeing a third dimension, the vertical dimension. So we're talking about a multi-kilometer long strike system. These systems are open at depth. We've drilled down 1.2 kilometers deep at the deepest hole, and we're still in mineralization. This is kind of typical what you see for porphyries. The real takeaway from this system, this whole area though, are the late stage veins, which makes it a little bit unusual compared to a typical porphyry. You see high grades here, right? You don't normally equate porphyries and high grades. They're generally low grade. But in this instance, the last event of porphyries are late stage veins. And for whatever reason, in this belt, they overprint the porphyry. So we have porphyry metal being deposited, and then later event we have these high-grade veins overprinting, and the result is we report in gold equivalent because these are much more gold-rich, than they are copper-rich, and that's the nature of the beast. Looking at Apollo now, you can see a myriad of our drill holes. You know, most of these start at or near surface. Pretty impressive intercepts with some attractive grades. This is a multi-million ounce system. We don't have a mineral resource estimate yet, as I mentioned, but you will see once we do, there's many million ounces here, and we're continuing to grow. Looking at, you can see a breakdown of the various commodities that make up that gold equivalent in the selection of these drill holes. This is the part where it comes right to surface, so we expect to ultimately have an open pit here and then go underground. And you can see the breakdown, and you can see we have some very good copper grades. I should add metallurgy, excellent here. No complications in separating any of these things. We've done PEA level work. We're expecting, in commercial scale, will be between 93 and 96% recoveries for copper, mid-90s for gold, and somewhere around 80% for silver. And tungsten is a little earlier, but we think we'll be in the mid-70s somewhere in that work. Olympus, I mentioned that, new discovery. So look at that hole, that's 88D01, the one that starts south of Apollo and goes almost due north. That was the discovery we announced in January of this year. You know, that was a function of, well, we were coming into Christmas and we knew there was going to be a break in drilling. We didn't have time to start another hole and we were under budget, so we let the rig go. And so we drilled out of Apollo into a dead zone and then went into another unit, and we drilled 202 meters at about just over 2 grams, at 2.16 grams per ton gold. That hole bottomed in mineralization. The rig got stuck in a complicated fault, and we just couldn't advance anymore, so we pulled the plug and let the workers go on break for Christmas. We followed that up recently with APC 93, which you can see there, assays expected in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We have hit the structure again, though, at that Olympus Deeps, and that also will have a nice visual intercept through the Apollo system. By the way, that 88D1 through Apollo cut about 500 meters at 1.8 grams per ton equivalent. Lastly is Trap. This is 3.5 kilometers away along strike to the northeast. So with 50 seconds left, very quickly, how did this come to be? The big challenge of this project is there's very little outcrop. You have a lot of historical volcanic ash and landslides. So even to auger for soil samples, we have to go down sometimes as deep as 10 to 12 meters by hand. It's hard work. But here we had this little window. We saw porphyry veining. We had good grades in this little window of outcrop, and we saw the whole thing was bleached white with something called phyllic alteration. For those geologists in the room, you know phyllic means you're high in a porphyry system. So without being able to follow it, we put holes in from 3 different pads, which you can see T-pad 1, 2, and 3. We drilled north-south, south-north, and east-west, and all 3 of those hit mineralization. All 3 of those are still high in the system because the core was absolutely flooded with that white alteration still. We really like this target. We're currently drilling. The new hole that's going in has a lot of vein density to it. It looks pretty exciting. Stay tuned for assays in the next 4 to 6 weeks from that as well. What's going to happen this year? In summary, lots of drilling. You know, as I mentioned, more than 40,000 meters of drilling. You'll see cement work. And hopefully we'll be making some new discoveries at some of the undrilled targets which have yet to be drilled. With that, we can open it up for questions.